So let's speak about the guns. My favorite guns in the game, the guns I use the most, and the guns I recommend for all players. Now, we'll not speak about the elemental damage guns like the Fire AK, like the Space Click, or the Stone Gun, or that nonsense. We'll just speak about the normal bullet firing guns that we have in the game. And to be honest, there are a lot of guns, and everyone will have their favorites, but there are a few ones that I liked a lot and that I used a lot. So let's speak about kind of like my ideal setup that I played a lot in the game, and it's not that hard to get. The RPK and the M107. And I guess the M107 is pretty hard to get, but I like to set up these things for hip fire. And the RPK has the damage boosting muzzle. So you do about 20 damage per bullet with an assault rifle bullet, which is kind of amazing, and no other gun in the game can kind of compare to this. Also, it's hip fire all the way. Extended magazine. This will basically be if this gun would push you back when firing it. It's very accurate. There are no drawbacks except that it's super heavy, so you will have to lose a lot of loot while shooting it. You cannot really do headshots with it, so I recommend you just do small bursts. So basically this very armored enemy over here will die in a couple of shots. Now if you are very far away, you lose a lot of accuracy. But this gun is not built for aiming or anything, it's just built to shoot everything and anyone. And you'll have a lot of fun with it. This is definitely one of my favorite guns, but it also is very ammo efficient, so you can definitely afford to load up some armor piercing ammo to kill all of the bosses on Farm City, for example. Very fun. And the M107, well, I just use it as a hip fire at relatively close range, and at longer ranges use it as a sniping weapon. Now I recommend you always put the laser on your sniping weapons, just because it will show you if you have a clear path to the enemy. If you see the enemy around here, you think, well, I might have a shot, I might not have a shot, but if the laser is not shining directly on the target, that means you don't have a shot. Also, a very fun fact, the recently added patch made it possible for you to actually pierce through enemies with your bullets. So sniper bullets will hit 2 enemies, Magnum will hit 3 enemies. Basically pierce 2 enemies and hit the last one. So let's have the sandbags back in place so I can show you this a little better. Actually, let's try it with the sandbags first. See, it pierces through the sandbag and it will hit the enemy behind it. I'm not sure if this mechanic works on other surfaces. It might work. I guess it's a lot of testing if this works with wooden barricades or some of the other stuff, or the barrels. But as you saw, it pierces through the sandbags and it will also pierce through targets. It's actually pretty funny because look at this. And you can also get the headshots if you are really careful. If you headshot the last target, I think it will headshot everyone. Let's check it out. Looks like it's just a headshot machine, but yeah, imagine if you can kill 3 enemies at the same time. This thing is a beast, more or less because of the damage. Now, I'll not go through all of the stats of the guns, because you know, all of the stats are important basically. The hip fire coefficient, the crit damage multiplier is also very important. The range, but also the bullet speed, the reload time. Everything is important. 50 damage from this gun will allow you to kill most enemies without any issues. This is also a great gun to just kill the red ghost, to kill the ghosts in any map, to just kill anything you like. Now it's very hard to get, and most people will not get the quest to do it, but it's definitely one of the more fun games of one of the more fun guns of the game. Now let's switch to the weapons that will use most of the game. Now you have the AK-103, M14 and MP 155 Ultima. Now there's a little bit of a discussion, but the M1A can also just replace the M14. I just like the M14 because it has slightly more damage and more stats overall, plus more capacity. 1.7, the kill multiplier is a little lower, but yeah, generally this is just the upgraded version of the M1A. This is what I used most of the game. I'll not put all of the attachments again because this is just another hipfire AR. As you can see, it has a high damage and some very good stats. The problem is it's not very accurate. So this is definitely not a hipfire, but you can also just fire a few bullets like that. But as you can see, it's not going to work. Unless you do 1 or 3 shots the most. This is a great ADS weapon, and I think I used it for 50 hours or more than 50 hours throughout the game. Just very good stats all around, and you can also just put all of the attachments. Pretty robust weapon, just like in real life. The AK-103 is probably the weapon you'll be using the most. Now you also can use the MF. The MF has a few disadvantages, but more or less the same thing. It fires faster, it does lower damage, and it has basically no recoil at higher levels. At higher levels I mean better attachments. But the problem with this game is that you'll never really be standing still and shooting, because if you do that, you probably will die. So yeah, I guess it's also a matter of preference, but between these two, I usually pick with the 101, the AK-103 if I can. Plus, this AK-103 can be a drop from the raiders on ground zero as well. So the AK-103 is a lot easier to get than the MF. The MF can be, how should I say, a little more fickle, so you'll need to waste more bullets, you'll need to prepare more for combat with it. And I just got a lot of drops from the AK-103 from the normal raiders on ground zero, so that's why I liked it the most. Also, in this category of most used weapons will be the M14. With the scope, depending on what you like, but usually a 4x is enough. So you can almost fire this automatically. Now I don't recommend you put a hip fire thingy on it, because if you put a lot of hip fire on the gun, it will be very bad. Definitely do not hip fire it. Always use a scope. By the way, in the recent update they also improved the scope, so as you can see this adds a little more range to it. So if you can click fast enough, this will almost be automatic fire with 27 damage, which is impressive in my opinion. Plus, I think we have a sniper damage modifier. Actually, I'm pretty sure I have a damage here. Look at the sniper rifle over here, 10% more damage. So that 27 will turn into 29.7. So I don't think it counts as 30. So I'll just say 29. So that's 2 more points of damage. Don't lose much, to be honest. Let's see the corner. Yeah, you can definitely see the loss of accuracy, and you cannot almost automatically fire it. So yeah, that's why I prefer the other stuff. Hip fire is not for this gun, like I said. Anyway, these are kind of like the guns that I used most of the game, and this is what most people use, the M14 or the M14. Also the Ultima. The Ultima is not to be discounted because it's the best shotgun in the game by a long margin. Plus it looks very cool. Plus it has all of the right stats. Also it has kind of like a lot of hit damage multiplier for a shotgun. So if you can hit the headshot, you'll most likely kill an opponent very easily. Let me show you. Let's wait for them to regenerate. If you go for headshots, this will definitely kill very fast, but don't even try it. So see, that's basically a below 1 second kill, even for heavy armor. This with the advanced AP shotgun shells, but you can basically kill all of these enemies. So whenever you need just to kill a lot of enemies, this is your gun. Now at longer ranges you lose some of the damage and accuracy, but if you just keep spraying in the right direction, you will fire. The gun is also very easy to reload because it uses, let me show you. don't think you can stop the reload. Yeah. No, you cannot stop the reload. Oh, you can. Okay. So you can stop the reload by pressing X, and then all of the bullets, all of the shells loaded will still fire. That's amazing. Now let's go to some of the more interesting guns like the MP5 or the Bison. To be honest, these are the guns that you have to use for looting, meaning it will have the movement speed coefficient to them, so you can always use them because you'll actually move faster with them. Look at this. So hip fire and movement with these two guns is just amazing. Now the MP5 is better, but I prefer the Bison just because it looks a little cooler and because of its other categories of stuff. I don't know. To be honest, I just like the way it looks and the way it fires. The MP5 can be better than it, of course. Sadly, I don't think there's any other reason to use any other SMG except for the MP5. I think it's a design flaw by the developers. Usually their guns are much better balanced, but in this case, seems like this gun has the best stats all around. Damage multiplier 1.0. I guess this does a little extra damage. This has more crit multiplier, but this has more raw damage, 12 versus 10. So if you have the attachments, you probably want to build an MP5 with movement speed, so you can just go through the easier maps like Warehouse or Ground Zero. So yeah, definitely use one of these guns as well. Now if you don't, you probably will replace one of the snipers or the shotguns from this loadout. Now let's speak about the kind of like the rare guns that you are very good, but you will not use just because they're super hard to get. By the time you get the M6 spear, you need to give 1 for the progression. I think you need to give 3 for progression in total, so you'll never use the M6 spear. You might use the MDR 762 just because it's so similar, but has lower magazine capacity and has 1 less slot, sadly. By the way, all of the guns have a different sound to it, a little distinct. See, all of the sounds are a little more distinct, but yeah, these guns are very good, even without attachments, but you'll not use them. Maybe this one you'll use a little more. But they're also kind of heavy, especially this one, and yeah. The damage multiplier is 1.5, 1.5. So these are kind of similar, but so good for the endgame. If you can get them early by buying them or getting a black market trade or something, these things will just make your game so much better in a way. Also worth mentioning is the ASVAL, which technically is worse than the MP5, technically, but it's just much better to use without attachments. If you want to feel like an operator, just use as well. So this gun gets the cool award. I just like the way it sounds, and that's kind of like it for this. So these 3 are the cool guns. This is what we'll use to fire Bison or MP5. This is your main working guns, AK 103 with M14. This is your boss killer setup that you'll most likely not use a lot of times. You can replace this with the M700 or whatever sniper you have available, or the Mosin. The Mosin is also pretty good. The M700 is probably the sniper rifle that you'll use the most. The Mosin is just like a starter weapon, so don't think too much about it. Oh yeah, also a worth you mention goes to the pistol. Now, the other pistols are not that good anyway, so we'll just speak about this one. The Desert Eagle. Now keep in mind that because of the recent changes to piercing, you'll be able to pierce a few enemies, but it works for the pistol as well. Look at this. So if you can score headshots with this pistol, and if you line up the enemies, or if you use, for example, the security officer, the security captain in the city hall, if you approach the area from the western entrance, everyone will just stack up on the hallway. So look at this. So it will pierce through light cover, maybe some surfaces, but also through enemies. So this is such a fun gun. Also, it's very important to understand that you can get this super early. You just need to visit the farm city and have the robber coveralls, and then you can just get the crafting recipe for it. Doesn't fire very fast. I need more extended magazines for this. I think you can get a tier 2 extended magazine and then it will be much better. You have to use it as an ADS shot though. And just use it as it is, but as you see, to refire a bullet it will become super hard to control. Do you need to craft it? Oh, but you need advanced weapon parts. Well, that's the only problem with this gun, I guess. You more likely will not get enough advanced weapon parts unless you buy them or you... Yeah. It's kind of like a big letdown. I think the developers should replace... No, if they replace it with an easier to craft recipe, then everyone will just use the Desert Eagle for the entire game. But definitely a weapon that you can use the entire game if you are playing on a lower difficulty, because it's so light, so accurate, so much damage, and with the recent update it actually makes it so much more fun to use. By trying to get the headshots or hitting multiple enemies at the same time. Yeah, this is kind of it. Very fun game with a lot of fun guns. I'll also do a separate video for the elemental damage guns because it's a totally different subject with the way some of the other guns work. For example, let me show you the psionic damage gun. It can hip fire, but you need to put a lot of attachments on it to make it work. So yeah, have fun with the basic guns, and we'll speak about these ones a little later. By the way, you can also look at all of the details on the guns themselves, to the point where I think if they had something written on them you'll understand. I guess I should have showed you this for the other guns as well, but look at this. You can look at all of the small details for the guns and you can see all of them over here. See you next time. Bye bye.